It's almost Halloween. It's bounty season. And what people are gonna find is candy everywhere and lots of buffets, lots of parties, lots of things coming up. And on that table is a smorgasbord of choices. And I know as we were talking before we started shooting, all weight loss is not created equal. The thing of macros, it's super important, but how macros are delivered and how the body works with those macros, equally important. And with that kind of baseline of having this big buffet table of what to choose to eat and how the body processes it, I think that's a great liftoff for you to share how that whole process works in the body and what we do with our food once it enters our pie hole.
Man, I am passionate about that, just like I am my sweets at Halloween. Shouldn't tell you that, but I am. And every time I eat those sweets at Halloween, and you described it well as a smorgasbord, there's effect on how our body looks at everything that we take in. And the best analogy is exactly, look at your body. You get these fitness apps, and they all have on there your protein content, your fat content, your carbohydrate content. My sister gets all me, hey brother, what should my diet be? With these different various ones, all this. And so I'm gonna break this down, and you tell me if I get off base or I talk too much with this. But I'm gonna break this down in how I look at it and how our body processes this. Your body basically looks at protein, looks at fat, looks at glucose, and looks at glycogen.
And which are our carbohydrates.
Our carbohydrates, exactly, as energy stores. And it has a preference. It would be nice for all of us if the first thing your body did when it needed energy was said, let me go get a little fat. Wouldn't that be nice? We'd get rid of all that fat, we'd maintain our protein, our muscle. We'd have glucose and glycogen for that quick fight or flight energy stores when we need to be energetic. It'd be wonderful, but the body doesn't do that. In fact, how it works, it walks up to that table, using that analogy, with the carbohydrates, or the simple sugars, the glycogen, the combination of simple sugars, the fat and the protein. It walks up and it goes, I like simple sugars. Cookie. Yeah, cookie. Yeah, exactly. So what it does is it takes all these sugars, our body's first instinct is to take all these sugars and start using them. And we burn through all of our simple sugars in our body in about 2 to 4 hours. So if you go to sleep at night, you don't eat for 8 hours, you burn through a lot of your simple sugars. Now what we would do is we wouldn't have any energy to even breathe or move or work. So what the body does, it needs to find energy for all these bodily functions, so it turns to the next energy source, and that's glycogen. It has a very preferential way with how it's going to use things in the body. So glucose is gone, 2 to 4 hours. Now we go to glycogen. Glycogen is a bunch of glucose molecules stuck together. And the big chains of glycogen are stored in the liver, they're stored in muscle, and the body goes and starts grabbing these big chains and just cleaves itself off a piece, I'm making this simple, cleaves itself off a piece of glucose and it uses it for energy. Cleaves itself off a piece of glucose, uses it for energy. Now this might go on for 4 to 8 hours. Now pretty quick you're out of glycogen. Now what's it do? It needs more energy. If you fasted, you've been to this spot. Now it goes equally, unfortunately, to protein and fat. It starts going, let me get a protein model for some energy, let me get some fat for some energy, molecule protein, molecule fat, and we start burning them equally. These are the challenges that we deal with at FitMD. When people come in and they're losing weight, we don't look at that as success. What type of weight are you losing? Are you losing fat mass? Or are you losing muscle mass?
And you got to know the difference, right? A scale doesn't tell you that. That's why we have the InBody, because it gives us all these different things, including water, muscle mass, dry lean mass, and fat.
That's exactly right, and that is critical. And then what we do is we look at how each individual person gets through their energy stores, and we try to manipulate that by finding out, are you not getting to the fat part of that because of a hormone deficit? Would a peptide maybe help you get to that faster? Or would the peptide help you maintain the muscle mass, the protein portion of that, while you burn off the fat? If we can get you through the glucose and the glycogen? And when you look at each individual person, because our body mass is so dependent on the hormones, that's that genetic thing you hear about, is it so dependent upon that? We look at each person individually, figure out what that is, and when you start targeting that, you start seeing their success. That's why you see, Danielle in our office, she is our director, and we've seen just the incredible weight loss success. It's because she gets this. She gets this when she takes care of people. She has so many people with pictures on her wall with 50 pounds or more of weight loss, but she gets it. She gets how our bodies choose to use things. And then she combines that with our medical model, where we don't just go, hey, starve yourself. We go, what can we use? Peptides, hormones, diet, food? Which angle are we going to take, or which combination of all these are we going to take to get the best results?
And it's important because that is something that needs to be monitored. It needs to be watched, because otherwise, like you said, you risk basically that label of becoming a skinny fat person. Like when you look at what an anorexic person is,
yes,
they are tiny humans with incredibly high body fat masses because all of their muscle has been catabolized, I guess would be the right way to say it. It's been cannibalized. It's gone.
Right.
And so then they have no strength behind that. It leaves them very vulnerable, and it's a very sickly condition. And so as we're improving weight loss, we're so much watching that other side of the scale too.
And it matters so much to monitor it in this way. And as Dr. Hoven said, watch the scale here, do the InBody on muscle and fat, so on and so forth. I just reviewed a patient's labs before he came in here, a good friend of mine. And he started on a program, and he had a pretty high percentage body fat. And I said, hey, how you doing? Called him up, so I had his new labs in. He said, okay, you know, only lost 4 pounds. I said, really? Before I told him any of his results. Oh, really? You know, well, yeah, I'm feeling better, but I'm just, you know, it doesn't seem like the weight's coming off. He was looking just at the scale. Well, his InBody actually showed that he had lost 8 pounds of fat, and he had put on like 6 pounds of muscle or something. So his net weight loss was only a few pounds, but he lost a ton of fat and put on a bunch of muscle. Now, that has such a much more beneficial effect. Our basal metabolic rate, which is the amount of calories that while we're sitting here right now, we're burning calories. When you're sitting on your couch watching TV, I hate to tell you this, you're burning calories. That basal metabolic rate, what you burn, is based largely on your muscle mass. So now he's got more forgivable room because he's got more muscle mass, less fat mass. Fat mass creates no basal metabolic rate, really. And so he has already improved the quality of his life. Stronger, better bone protection, better energy, better baseline calorie burn, but the scale didn't show it. The scale showed that 2 or 3 pounds or 4 pounds, whatever he was looking at, So you can't base it on the scale. You have to understand this metabolic process that, you know, Dr. Hoven and I are talking about. You have to understand how the body selectively chooses what it's gonna burn. And then you work with that, and each person individually, to get the best result.
That is so good. And I don't know, hope you're okay with this. I'm gonna throw out a deal for you. Okay, if you're in the area, if you're in Denver, one of our places, if you've never seen an InBody, you got to do it. And normally there's a $40 charge for an InBody because it's high tech, super expensive equipment that we use in order to do everything we're talking about. What do you think if I say, hey, if you say that you saw us on this, come get a free InBody on us?
Listen,
I hope Danielle doesn't smack me for that.
Or me for agreeing with you, but I'm going to blame you.
Okay,
his idea. I think this is a great idea, and here's why. Everybody should have one, just like everybody should have their baseline blood work done. Everybody should have an InBody done because it tells you how healthy you really are. What you look like in clothes or what that scale number says is not everything. It also shows you with time and with your work what you're changing. InBody is wonderful. A lot of the professional sports teams use these to determine athlete conditioning when they come back after the summer, because they can all come back in at the same weight, but they come back at the same body composition, the same physical shape.
Visceral fat.
Visceral fat, the same endurance. What is their overall health risk? You know, visceral fat, big measurement for overall health risk for cardiovascular disease. So critical. I think it's a great idea. Anybody that comes in, free InBody, find out where you're at, and we can explain it to you then too with your numbers, with your actual numbers, and say this is what you are, and that's a real measure of health.
Awesome. So before I get us into any more trouble, we'll wind this up. But if you have comments, click below, send the comments, and we will absolutely do our best to answer them for you. If you have other videos you'd like to see, let us know. If you want to follow us on any of our channels, we're super active in that direction. Anything we can do to help. Basically, our tagline is to help others live optimized. We want that for you. So until next time, keep living optimized.
Absolutely.